As some of you may have seen, last week there were stories about me being banned from a restaurant.
Welcome to WatchMojo UK, and today we're looking at times the rich and famous were brought down a peg or two.
Rebecca Vardy had earlier denied lying after her witness statements had been changed in the run-up to the trial.
Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
The property ladder.
This is the first time I've said this publicly. In June, I smashed my kids' iPads.
In 2022, Kirstie Allsopp got in hot water after she said that all you need to do to buy a house is cancel Netflix, stop going to the gym, and stop drinking coffee. But how did Allsopp herself get on the property ladder, you might be wondering? She was helped by her father, the 6th Baron Hindlip, of course.
Lack of preparation is the number one mistake, not knowing what your budget is before you go out and window shop.
She blames the lavish lifestyle of having a monthly Netflix subscription, which costs £192 a year at the highest tier in 2025. With average house prices coming to £269,000, cancelling Netflix will get you a 10% deposit in only 140 years. Suffice it to say, Allsopp was immediately called out for this and eventually quit Twitter completely because she couldn't take the heat.
And then people are perhaps too respectful of the solicitors, who should be bullied as much as the estate agents.
Rolls-Royce.
Yeah, I mean, I think also we both come from families that work really hard. Both of our parents work really hard. We're very working class.
Be honest.
There's a reason Victoria Beckham was nicknamed Posh Spice. While she doesn't have an aristocratic background, which has recently changed since following David's knighthood, she's now Lady Beckham, she did grow up well off. So well off that her father, an engineer, famously drove a Rolls-Royce.
I am being
honest. What car did your dad drive you to school in?
So my dad did...
No, one answer.
My dad...
What car was it?
Alright, it's not a simple answer because...
What did you get your dad to drive
It
you
depends.
To school in? No.
This came about during a talking head while filming Beckham for Netflix, which you won't have been able to watch if you took Kirstie Allsopp's house buying advice, where Victoria tried to say she also came from a difficult working class background. David stuck his head around the corner and immediately called her out, until she admitted that her supposedly blue-collar dad's car was a Rolls.
Okay, in the 80s my dad had a Rolls-Royce.
Thank you.
Molly-Mae's work ethic.
The things I've done now are not because of Love Island, they're because of me and what I've decided to do in my work ethic.
We all have the same 24 hours in a day, don't we? What's stopping you from starting your own business and working on it non-stop to make it a success? That's what Molly-Mae Hague did, after all, after she'd already become semi-famous by becoming a beauty queen and then turning up on Love Island.
When I reach one goal, it's what can I achieve next? It's never enough for me, and I think it's a bit of a downside to my personality.
She made this statement on Diary of a CEO, saying that people only have themselves to blame if they're not successful. Never mind that the reason she got any success was because of that Love Island appearance. This went viral for all the wrong reasons, leading to people editing her Wikipedia page to call her Molly-Mae Thatcher in response.
And it's like I never am happy with where I'm at. I'm constantly working towards the next thing.
The expenses scandal.
What the MPs were planning to do was to publish this stuff with all the salient details redacted.
What could be more entitled than British MPs thinking they deserve to claim a fortune in expenses from the public purse for whatever they feel like?
A guy at the other end said, "Hello, would you be interested in looking at a disc of every single MP's expenses?" And I said, yes, I would.
When this scandal broke in 2009, the papers wasted no time printing lists of the most absurd claims MPs had made, with some of them actually getting criminal convictions for their actions.
How far are you away from West?
37 miles.
And you need 2 houses.
Some of the claims included a £9,000 television, a £1,600 duck house, and a £2,000 moat, though the MP claiming for the moat, Douglas Hogg, said that the Telegraph was wrong about that claim. Dozens of politicians resigned, their political careers ending in disgrace after taking advantage of the expenses system to commit fraud, dodge taxes, and generally behave badly.
I have never, ever claimed my full allowance. I have always claimed the amount. I publish them. I've always published them on my website.
Ramsay's Porsche.
We were young, we were stupid, and we were skint.
Gordon Ramsay's been a top TV chef for decades now, so it's not surprising that he has the cash to buy luxury sports cars, like his beloved Porsche 911.
And I thought this was all going well. Lunch is good. I'll pay for lunch. And I said, oh, by the way, Chris, about that deposit, Tan and I, we've got half of it. We need the other 20 grand.
He was talking on a podcast about a time he asked his father-in-law, Chris Hutchison, for 20 grand so he could put down a deposit on a house. Hutchison refused the loan and instead told Ramsay to sell his Porsche, which he did.
Here's what I'll do. I'll have another lunch with you when you sell your Porsche.
Ramsay was widely mocked for saying he was completely skint and then admitting to owning such an expensive car, though he did at least take the advice to heart. Maybe he should have put down a deposit before buying a car in the first place.
I did sell it. And 10 years later, I went and bought it back.
Banned from Balthazar.
If I lived in New York, I'd go every day on the proviso that, they would let me in. So...
While James Corden still tries to put out a down-to-earth image, nobody's actually believed that for years. He's become notorious in entertainment for all sorts of things, including trying to give the writing staff on The Late Late Show pay cuts, though this wasn't confirmed. What was confirmed, however, was his restaurant outburst, in which he was so rude to the staff at Balthazar in New York that the owner banned him.
I made a rude comment, and it was wrong. It was an unnecessary comment. It was ungracious to the server.
Once this became public knowledge, Corden apologised and seems to have behaved himself in restaurants since. Following the apology, the ban was lifted, but it remains a career worst moment for Britain's most obnoxious comedian.
I called him straight away and I told him how upset I was. I was upset, how upset I was that anybody was hurt by anything that I had done.
Nottingham Cottage.
As far as people were concerned, we were living at a palace, and we were in a cottage.
We were living on palace grounds.
While Prince Harry and Meghan Markle eventually moved into Frogmore Cottage, the 10-bedroom house in the grounds of Windsor Castle that was supposedly too small for William and Kate. Before that, they were in Nottingham Cottage.
Kensington Palace sounds very regal. Of course it does. It says palace in the name. But Nottingham Cottage, it was so small.
This house was, according to them, far too small, with low ceilings and only 2 bedrooms. But to most people, this sounds like a completely reasonably sized house for a young couple. It even has a garden, which millions of people in the UK living in small terraces or flats don't have.
He would just hit his head constantly in that place because he's so tall. Me with a hoe and H varnishing.
Suffice it to say, this was something else the Sussexes were mocked for, though at least they paid back the millions spent on renovating Frogmore.
It was just a chapter in our lives where I don't think anyone could believe what it was actually like behind the scenes.
The queue.
In the ancient Westminster Hall, a final chance for reflection, for respect, and for the lucky like Jeannie who met the Queen, remembering too.
While much of the attention around the queue to see the Queen lying in state was on Philip Schofield and Holly Willoughby for allegedly queue jumping, there was another group of queue jumpers who also faced public scrutiny: MPs. MPs and peers were allowed to skip the queue and bring up to 4 guests each, bypassing the public.
Seems that MPs do not have to queue for 9 hours. They can take up to 4 people. I don't know if this is true. That's what I'm being told.
We can see why they didn't want to queue with the plebs, but at the end of the day, it wasn't like they had anything better to do. The entire country and government was shut down for 10 days for the period of national mourning, so they definitely had the time to queue. They were criticised by the public and trade unions over this.
I don't think it's right that the MPs should not have to queue, because lots of people are having to take a day off with no pay, but they just carry on regardless.
Custard pie.
How are you going to teach kids to be as funny as you?
Well, we have a go.
Piers Morgan thinks he's entitled to say whatever he wants with no repercussions, but that turned out to be untrue after a fateful interview with beloved comedian Harry Hill.
I have a feeling what's coming next, because we have some flan cases here.
So part of the show is...
And whipped cream.
To rewind, earlier in the week, Morgan had courted controversy once again by criticising Daniel Craig's decision to wear a papoose, saying on Twitter that using one leaves men emasculated. It was truly bizarre to get riled up about men carrying their own children. Though 2 years later he admitted that his complaints were pointless. That wasn't before Harry Hill smashed him in the face with a custard pie on live TV though, roundly humiliating him.
And because this pie is for all those men that wear papooses.
Oh!
That's for the guys who wear papooses. All right.
Wagatha Christie.
Rebecca Vardy is the one suing Rooney for libel, but today her own words are in the spotlight.
What's more humbling than being ordered to pay £3 million in legal fees because you claimed somebody had libelled you, but in actuality, they were telling the truth? Very few things, we imagine, but Rebecca Vardy found this out the hard way.
Colleen Rooney's lawyer David Sherborne suggested you were perfectly happy for the staged photo to take place, perfectly happy for Caroline Watt to do the dirty, as long as the dirt doesn't come back on you. Not true, said Mrs. Vardy.
The case was eventually thrown out, but not before it was largely proven that Colleen Rooney's investigation was watertight, and that it almost definitely had been Vardy, or someone working for Vardy with access to her socials, who was selling stories to the Sun the entire time.
In October 2019, Colleen Rooney claimed she'd caught Vardy leaking fake stories about her to the press through her private Instagram account. 3 were published in The Sun, including one about a flood at her house.
Colleen's come out smelling of roses, with book deals and documentaries, while Vardy has been fighting with the courts over reducing her damages payments. She's been refused. Let us know in the comments which humbling moments we forgot.
I put it to you, Mrs. Vardy, it's not her who betrayed you, as you suggest. It is you who has betrayed her by throwing her under the bus.